We have reports that the Toronto Maple Leafs GM Brad Treliving is making a lot of phone calls trying to land a trade here at the deadline, and we may see him swing back on someone who they were interested earlier in the summer, and we're going to break it all down for you coming up on this episode of Hat Trick HQ. Before we get into it, just want to say that 77.7% of you guys watching this aren't subscribed, so if you're big hockey fans, just like all of us here on the channel, make sure to go down below, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road for 3,000 subscribers, and really appreciate it if you're not subscribed already to go down below and hit that subscribe button. But with that said, let's go right into the first topic of the video today, which is Sheldon Keefe and Brad Treliving cooking up a plan. And as we see from Luke Fox here on Twitter, he says Sheldon Keefe says he and Brad Treliving are talking daily about roster needs and that the GM is busy making calls. The quote here says he's doing all he can to try to help our team, at the same time recognizing that the team's played really well as of late. And Mark, this is a very interesting. Obviously, we seen last night Chris Tanev get dealt, so I think the Leafs are trying to kind of shift their plan here right now. So Sheldon Keefe and Brad Treliving having a little sit down, talking about what they could add here at the deadline, I think is really beneficial for this team.
Yeah, the big thing I'm noticing with this team, and I know Sheldon spoke about it a bit, was the fact that right now they're dressing six left-handed defensemen. Obviously, you can get guys that are left-handed to play the right. TJ Brody did it for the majority of his career, but he has looked a lot better at lefty, so I think they're going to try to translate him back into that side. The big problem with playing a bunch of guys that are left-handed on the right, you almost know how they're going to try to exit the zone. They're not going to try to throw it off the boards. It almost gives it away, so it's a little hard in matchups sometimes when you only have guys that are left-handed. I know Jake McCabe has looked outstanding on right D. Timothy Liljegren is currently injured, but during Riley's absence, he looked like one of our best defensemen. You've seen him and Brody really just tear it up. They looked outstanding on the first pairing. So I think Toronto's big game plan here is to really just be actively looking for a right D. Like I said, you only have one guy that's right-handed, and that's Liljegren, who's out with an injury. You have McCabe, who I am totally fine with keeping on the right side. I think Brody's better off on the second pairing, the first pairing, wherever Morgan Riley might not be, and you put Liljegren on his side. But I think they're going to really look for that right-handed defenseman to play with a guy like Morgan Riley. We've seen them go out and get Luke Shen last year. He looked outstanding with Riley. I'm still a little upset that he did end up walking. Obviously, Nashville offered him more than the Leafs could, and he's over there living his life. But the big thing is we've seen them just continuously look for right-handed defensemen. I mean, we've seen Ilya Lyubushkin come in a playoff run, play with Morgan Riley. Like I said, the most recent one was Luke Shen. So I think they're looking for a defenseman to play the right with Riley, a guy that's right-handed, can play the right. Sean Walker's available. Guys like this that might not cost as much. I mean, right now we know that the Dallas Stars pretty much set the just kind of the standard and what people are going to pay. Tanev went for the second, a conditional third. I think they get the third if they make it to the Eastern or Western Conference Finals. Sorry. So I think the big thing here is the Leafs don't want to give up this much to acquire a right-handed defenseman, especially with a lot of the guys being rentals. So maybe they go to look in the bargain bin. I mean, like I said, we've seen Lyubushkin step in. He played well. Luke Shen came for a third, and he was outstanding with Morgan Riley. So maybe they look for a guy that's a cheaper option, someone they can plug and play, and then just really add someone that is right-handed, like I said.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you here. I really do think that the needs have kind of shifted to this full on looking for a right handed shot defenseman here. There was a little bit of lingerings or inklings saying that they may be looking at getting a goaltender here, but we did see reports come out today that they're fine with riding three goaltenders for the rest of the season. So I think the focus is off goaltending and more focused on trying to land a right-handed shot defenseman here at the deadline. And I'm sure that's what Brad Treliving is making all these calls about to different teams, asking who's available. They're looking for a right-handed shot. And like you said, the market is set now. I think they can get a right-handed shot defenseman at a fairly reasonable price here. And I'm really sure we will see one become available for the Leafs at the deadline. And but there is one that they were interested in earlier in the summer in signing that they could potentially trade for, and that is Matt Dumba coming to Toronto. Is this a possibility that we could see play out? And as we see here, this is from Luke Fox as well. He says, Matt Dumba says, yes, the Toronto Maple Leafs were one of several teams that expressed interest in him during free agency before ultimately going with Arizona and the Coyotes. I mean, this is just very interesting to me, Mark, that, obviously they did go out and get Klingberg after kind of shifted from Dumba and kind of landed on Klingberg. It's just unfortunate how that situation played out with him being injured and stuff like that. But I mean, this is a guy that we could see them shift their focus back in on here. Think you could get this guy in at a retained salary, and I think he's a great defenseman, right-handed shot that you could test out with Morgan Riley up on that top line.
Yeah, the big thing is I want to touch on Klingberg first. When he first came to Toronto, I know I noticed last season, especially, that there wasn't a lot of offense being generated from the defenseman. Morgan Riley, of course, has a good shot. He can pass. Brody can pass as well. These guys can pass, but Klingberg looked like almost the perfect piece. Did they pay too much? Maybe a tad. Obviously, it didn't work out. That's in the past. He's on LTIR now. But the big thing with Matt Dumba, this was a guy that was once regarded an offensive, almost two-way guy. He kind of regressed offensively on Arizona. I mean, right now their offensive output might not be as good as he was once on Minnesota, but this guy's really stepped up his physicality. We're seeing him lay his body on the line a lot more. He's laying a ton of more hits. I think right now he actually has more hits in less games than he ever did in his entire career. So Matt Dumba at a cheap price might not be a bad option. I've seen a lot of reports saying that the Coyotes were looking for a first round pick. Would I give up a first for Matt Dumba? Definitely not. But right now, with Dallas setting the market, this should drop its value. If the Leafs can acquire a guy like this for a third round pick and a B level prospect, maybe a second round pick with no prospect, whatever it might be, as long as they're not moving out any high end talent, any high end prospects, any first, I think Matt Dumba could be a safe fit. And honestly, with the Leafs showing interest, Dumba showing a bit of interest with joining them before ultimately going to Arizona, I could see this guy coming back on a couple-year deal in the next couple of years. If he does sign or get traded here, sign long term, sign short term, whatever it might be, I think Dumba's not a bad option, especially if it's the right price.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you here. Like you said, his values kind of dropped a little bit now after the market was set last night. I'm sure Brad Treliving is making some calls on that and some other defensemen today since the market was set, kind of rejigging his deals here and trying to get something to work. And I think Matt Dumba will be in the mix here. Obviously, Arizona is in Toronto to play the Leafs tonight, and maybe he sees this guy out there tonight and say, hey, I want this guy on my team, and he goes out and tries to acquire him. And like you said, I think this guy's a great two-way defenseman, great penalty killer as well. He's logging about 20 minutes time on ice with the Arizona Coyotes this year, and I just think he'd be a great fit here in Toronto. He could be a great two-way guy. He's not afraid to shoot the puck either, and I think he could fit in really well here, either with it if it's with Morgan Riley on the top pairing or maybe throughout the third pairing slot here. I think he could be a great fit here in Toronto, and we're just going to take a look at his stats here so far this season with the Coyotes. He has 9 points in 54 games. And the big thing to look at here is he has 139 hits, 82 blocks. Obviously, this guy has been a solid, defender in the NHL for a long time. And his cap hit here, he did sign a one-year deal with Arizona, which brought him in at 3.9 million AAV. And obviously, we take a look at the defensive pairings. We kind of broke it down a little bit for you, but here's a little bit of a visual. I mean, we could see him slap up here on this top pairing with Morgan Riley. And like Mark said, maybe try Brody out on the left. He looked really good the last time they tried that there. So maybe this is what you see. Or the other option here is you kind of keep this the same and just plop him in on this third pairing with William Lagesson here. And like Mark said, I think this would be a great trade for Toronto and a great right-handed shot defenseman that you could get for fairly cheap now.
Yeah, because the big thing is you almost look at last year when Kyle Dubas was leading this team, and you've seen them almost make a trade towards the end of trade deadline day where they shipped off Ingville for a third and flipped that third immediately to Vancouver to get Luke Shin. Luke Shin was a guy that was always, a second pairing, third pairing type guy. He stepped up and started playing with Quinn Hughes, and it looks like one of the best pairings in the league. He was absolutely rock solid next to Quinn Hughes, and you've seen him get traded to Toronto and play the exact same. You've got put next to Morgan Riley, a guy that's just great all around, offensively talented. He can hold his own in the defensive end. And you put a guy like him next to him, and it just worked perfectly. So maybe Brad Treliving's looking at Matt Dumba and saying, hey, yes, he's having a down year. It's the Arizona Coyotes. No one's really having an outstanding year, minus the best prospect in the world, in quotes, of Logan Cooley. And guys like Clayton Keller, But overall, if you can get him for, like I said, a third round pick, maybe a B level prospect, ship him to the second team to retain even more, and then send him to Toronto in the 3-team deal, I think this would work perfectly. It's kind of one of these deals where, hey, Sean Walker might cost more than they want to pay. You see a couple other guys that might have too high of value. So if you can grab Dumba for a cheap price, Dumba has shown interest. The Leafs have shown interest. I think it would be a good fit, but just do not move a guy like Fraser Minton, obviously Easton Cowan, the first round pick, whatever it might be. Put him with Morgan Riley. You can run such good pairings. I mean, Benoit and McCabe could be your bottom pairing. And then, like I said, Brody and Liljegren has looked outstanding together in a short time. So just have all this as your 3 pairings, and you have a guy like Giordano, Lagesson that can step in when needed. And I think this would help the Leafs in a deep playoff run.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that. I mean, you said it perfectly there. I think this guy's a perfect fit for Toronto. Maybe the missing piece that they are missing right now, obviously, like you said, they're missing that extra right-handed shot defenseman there. And getting this guy in at a fairly cheap deal without giving up your top prospects and stuff, I think this would be a solid trade for the Toronto Maple Leafs here. And I know a lot of you guys down in the comment section are already ripping into us for even suggesting a Matt Dumba trade to Toronto. But, I mean, when you look at who's available and you look at what you can get for a cheaper price, I think Matt Dumba is the perfect guy in this scenario. But we want to hear from you guys down below in the comment section. Let us know, are we out to lunch with this? Let us know down below in the comment section. But we're going to get in everybody's favorite topic here, which is comment of the day. And the comment of the day today goes to our boy Rob. Shout out to you, Rob, big supporter on the channel here. Always love seeing your comments down below. He says, Casey and Mark would love to see Lawson Krause in a Leafs jersey. And I mean, that's an interesting one. I mean, Lawson Krause kind of having a little bit of a down year this year, but maybe, a trade to the Leafs, maybe you package him up with Dumba here and try to ship both these guys to Toronto. Could be interesting, but we'll let you know if there's any reports that drop on that. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to go down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road for 3,000 subscribers. And if you're not subscribed already, make sure to go down below and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to check out the video we did on the Chris Tanev trade, it'll be popping up on your screen right now. But as always, I've been your host, KC, alongside my co-host, Mark Pye. Keep your stick on the ice.